As in case with all previous parts, we start with the acrylic underpainting and work from dark to light from top to bottom. So the darkest part in here are the distant trees, and the lightest part will be the sky and the flowers. And since the main characters in this story are not the trees, we just make sure the trees grow on different distances from each other. They are different thickness, different height. All of them are unique and all of them are happy. For the shadow part, I used Viridian mixed with blue and tried to apply it as thinly as possible. And the brush is a very stiff bristle brush. It's one of those cheaper brushes, but surprisingly it doesn't shed its bristles, and I started using it for paintings. I like stiff brushes and it does a good job, so why not use it? And now I am applying a slightly lighter shade of green to indicate the lit part of the trees. So they're still pretty dark, but it gives a little interest and depth. And the main part in this block and stage is to work fast and try to make your brush go in different directions and show a natural random arrangement of trees. Unfortunately, it's not possible to see here, but in some shadow parts you can almost distinctively see pure blue color, and that is how you indicate distance. And speaking of distance, the most distant grass is not just green plus yellow, but also plus blue or plus gray and blue. So even a small amount of some cooler, lighter paint will make it feel more distant. And we move on to the grasses on the forefront. So I do a little bit of a darker under layer, and then I cover it with lighter shades, and this indicates the multitude of those grasses and leaves. So this dark color is sap green. I like it because it's transparent and it also dries very fast. And the lighter ones, I believe it's a phthalo yellow plus cadmium green. The main focus is to work fast, to cover all the surface, and to prepare it for another layers of grass. So now I start working on the lighter parts of the grass. I mix some white and gray for the distant parts and some yellow and cadmium green into the parts of the grass that are closest to us. And the same principle applies to flowers. So those that are closest to us are most saturated, almost like pure color from the tube, and those that are in the distance are painted with the addition of either complementary color to make it less saturated or add gray as I do, and it works for me. I used word complementary. I promise not to use terminology, but I guess this is unavoidable part. So complementary colors are opposite on the color wheel, and mixed together they produce grays. They are also called opposite colors. And also it's important to notice that flowers don't grow on equal intervals from each other. So make them grow in little threes. Or notice how they grow in bunches in nature and try to imitate that. Moment of truth. I have forgotten to turn on the camera on day 2, and I completely failed to record how I painted a cabin and then how I painted over it because I didn't like it. So day 3. I decided to add a little trail into the painting and lead imagination into the distance. So I mixed a little bit of burnt umber, which is warm brown, a little bit of cool brown, which is raw umber, and a little bit of white and a little bit of Naples yellow. You can use any yellow. It's a minute amount to indicate sunlight, to give warmth. Normally I would also add red into the mixture or orange to show the warmth of the surface. And also one more thing to remember, that there is foreshortening. That is, the trail is wider the closer to us, and then it goes into the distance and narrows down. When adding an element that was not an original reference, or later on if you want to add a person, for example, into the landscape, it's very important to remember about the lighting, so that the light falls in equal amount onto different elements, and that the shadows are cast into the same direction. So keep that in mind. And I would like to say a few words about the brush I'm using. This is a synthetic number 10 bright brush, and the more I use it, the more I love it. So when I have it loaded with paint and use the narrow part, it gives nice strokes of imitating the blades of the grass. And also, if I want to imitate the bunches of the grass growing in the distance, I just paint it using the wider surface. My main goal in this study was to show sunlit grass and contrast with the trees. And I think I achieved it, so now I am finalizing, adding some very small details, looking into places where maybe there's too little paint or too much paint, or something is odd happening, like softening it out so that the unnecessary detail in distance would not draw extra attention. And the main principle again in the study is to rather leave work unfinished than overwork it. And this is the hardest part in any study. Not to overwork, not to overwhelm it with extra details that are unnecessary, and leave room for imagination. Anyways, I hope you like this painting and your imagination took you to a little stroll over an Alpine wildflower meadow. So don't go too far, because we have another painting and a lot more paintings. And actually, I would be thankful if you write in comments what would you like to see me paint, and learn together how to. Thanks for watching. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.